Back in the year 2000, the forthcoming Trinnov founders, Arno Labori, Sebastian Montoya and Remy Bruno joined forces to focus on research in 3D sound. In 2001, Labori, Montoya and Bruno create and test a working high spatial resolution 3D audio recording and playback chain. 2003 is the year that Trinnov was founded, and by the way, for those who may not know, Trinnov actually stands for Trinnovation, as in 3D innovation. This year is also the year that Trinnov presents the first of many scientific papers to the 114th Audio Engineering Society Convention in Amsterdam, also known as the AES Conventions. The AES Conventions are held annually in both United States and Europe and are the largest gatherings of audio professionals in the world. In 2004, the first ever 5.1 microphone and recording system were presented at the 116th AES Convention in Berlin. A year later, in 2005, Trinnov presents the optimizer technology as a surround monitoring solution at the 118th AES Convention, which was held in Barcelona. In 2008, the optimizer was adopted by several post-production facilities. Fox Studios, Radio France, BBC and Radio Canada are only a few names within several others in the industry. 2008 was also the year where the first consumer product, in this case Sherwood Newcastle R972, incorporated the optimizer in a scaled-down version, which received high praise from reviewers and audiophiles all around the world for its exceptional sound quality. Between 2010 and 2012, Trinnov's hi-fi processor, the ST2 and MC Pro, were launched, making the optimizer available to a wide range of pro audio applications, including music, radio, TV, film production and post-production. 2012 is the year the Magnitude 32 is released. As home theaters start to become more sophisticated, Trinnov leads the path towards high channel count systems beyond 7.1. The Magnitude provides up to 32 channels for systems with arrays, multi-amplified speakers and multiple subwoofers. Spanish startup IMM Sound launches its object-based 3D cinema format with 30 screens, each based around a 24-channel Trinnov processor. 2013 is a big year for Trinnov as they released their first highly successful digital cinema processor, Ovation. Ovation started to take cinema sound to a whole new level with its optimizer technology. Following on from the great success brought by the Ovation, Trinnov releases its first altitude processor, the highly respected home cinema processor, and to this day still considered the benchmark of all processors, the best processor on the planet, the almighty Altitude 32. With the launch of Dolby Atmos, all processors are limited to 7.1.4 channels. The Altitude 32 shatters this limitation, establishing a new standard for high-end home theaters with its capability of rendering up to 32 discrete Atmos channels. In 2015 at the ISE show in Amsterdam, the Altitude 32 demonstrates its cutting-edge capability as the first processor able to demonstrate both the Dolby Atmos and Auro 3D formats. The Altitude 32 is available in 4 different configurations: 8 channels, 16 channels, 24 channels and 32 channels. If you opt to purchase an Altitude 32 with a lower channel count, you can upgrade your channel counts in the future by adding additional cards which come in 8 channel configurations. After a huge success in 2015, Trinnov decides to create one of the most elegant amplifiers I've seen that is also the ideal complement to the Altitude 32 processor, the Trinnov Amplitude 8 power amplifier. The Amplitude 8 has dual 4-channel amplifiers on a single chassis and delivers a continuous 500 watts at 2 ohms with all channels driven. Gain matched to the Altitude processors, it provides up to 8 decibels improvement in signal to noise ratio and dynamic range. In 2016, JBL Synthesis and Trinnov partnered to produce the top-of-the-line synthesis processor. Manufactured on an OEM basis by Trinnov, the The SDP75 incorporates most of the Altitude 32's capability for dedicated use with systems utilizing synthesis speakers. The year 2017 is another home run for Trinnov, as they announce a new processor which is more appealing and available to a wider audience due to its more affordable price point and lower channel count, the Altitude 16. The Altitude 16 is essentially identical to the Altitude 32 processor apart from its lower channel count and slightly different deployed DACs. The ideal companion for the Altitude 16 is the Amplitude 8M, which is the smaller brother of the Amplitude 8 and deploys the highly rated Hypex Encore NC500 class deamplifier modules, delivering 200 watts RMS per channel at 8 ohms, all 8 channels driven, and 300 watts RMS at 4 ohms on any 4 channels. 2017 is also the year where the Altitude 32 becomes the first surround preamplifier to support DTS:X. The Altitude 32, Altitude 16 and the Amethyst, which is Trinnov's high-end stereo flagship processor, are all upgraded to fully certified Roon endpoints, providing the best possible music streaming experience. In 2018, Trinnov releases the Altitude 48 extension, which expands the Altitude 32's capabilities to the maximum 24.x.10 channels of Dolby Atmos and as many as 48 uniquely rendered channels, even up to 64 processed channels. Audio over IP through Dante, Ravana and AES67 on the Trinnov MC Pro HCC. 2019 is another hit year for Trinnov, as they announced the next generation cinema processor which further elevates audio performance in commercial cinema installations, the Ovation 2. The Altitude 32 and 16 are the first processors to support DTS:X Pro, with the Altitude 32 able to discretely render the full complement of 30.2 channels. This is implemented to all Altitude owners for free by means of a simple firmware upgrade which takes no more than 5 minutes. This is where the Trinnov truly excels and keeps its crown as the king of all processors. The Altitude processor's one of many strongest points are not being reliant on DSP chipsets for processing. Trinnov deploys an Intel CPU in both the Altitude 16 and 32, which gives owners the opportunity and flexibility to keep their much beloved home cinema processors at the top of the game at all times, with the latest audio codecs, technology and features. In fact, the very first Altitude 32 processor, manufactured back in 2014-2015, is no different to one that may be purchased today in 2020, 6 years after its debut release, due to this groundbreaking technology. To my knowledge, there is still currently no other brand in the market that deploys this technology. Moving along, 2020 brings Altitude owners IMAX Enhanced, and the future continues to be bright with exciting announcements to be made soon by the fantastic guys at Trinnov Audio. With all that said, there is so much more that could be discussed, but we'd simply be here all day. The 3D microphone in itself is a work of art, and the optimizer with all the capabilities and flexibilities it enables the end user to achieve, along with remapping features and bass management, are simply unique and unheard of. In fact, the Trinnov Audio Optimizer has recently won the Best Software at the CD Awards held earlier this year in October. Trinnov has won several other awards throughout the years. Some very recent ones are Best Product, High-End Home Theatre 2020-2021 EISA Award for the Altitude platform, and Best Product Award at the CEDIA Expo 2020 for the Altitude 32 processor.